All right. My name is Zach Hotoff. So thank you all for coming. I'm the CEO of Tightknit. We are welcoming Lauren Denitzio of Contrarian Thinking. Today, we're going to be jumping into building your community event engine. So one of the most exciting things is when we first met Lauren, she was running hundreds of events and struggling to get her end members to sign up. So what we were able to figure out is how to take her entire event stack and kind of build it and meet her members where they are. And that's really going to be the highlight of today's session is showing off how we are bringing your event stack inside of your Slack community. And Lauren's community by far has some of the highest numbers of any community that we've worked with in terms of both event registrations and pure numbers of events. And so we'll be kind of going over that. We'll have moments kind of throughout the presentation. I'll be able to take a question or two, but please save those for kind of those periods of time. And in the meantime, we're going to jump in to start explaining how to run the stack. So thank you all for joining us. It's late here on the East Coast, but excited to be able to bring everyone in. So I'll first just jump right in, give a quick agenda, and then I'll hand it over to Lauren to introduce herself. So today we are going to just give a quick introduction. We're already in it. We'll talk a little bit about, what is community, right? So I like to just level set of, we're watching this new world of community-led growth, and this is a big piece of that stack. We'll cover the Contrarian Academy, so actually diving into what Lauren is building day to day and how her business is helping many other people build the businesses that they aspire to build. We'll talk a little bit about Tightknit and how she's using our platform behind the scenes. And finally, we'll close it off as well to kind of answer anyone's questions and finish hopefully early and give everyone a little time back in their evening. So just a quick intro. My name is Zach Hotoff. I've been in the community industry for about 10 years. I started Salesforce on the Community Cloud. I am the CEO, co-founder, and community manager for Tightknit. We are the community platform built for Slack. We help build events, gamification, onboarding, SEO, everything you would need to power your community platform. We primarily serve folks that are in the B2B SaaS industry and professional creators like Lauren's team. And so I'm really excited to actually dive into that and show how her entire kind of like goal of building her community is to create a revenue generating business and how membership dues and all of that kind of play into this whole stack. So, all right, I'll hand it over to you, Lauren. Um, Super excited to have you. Thank you for joining us, and I'll hand it over.
Great. Well, yeah, thanks so much for having me. Really always happy to work with the Tightknit team. So again, my name is Lauren. I'm the Senior Product and Experience Operations Manager at Contrarian Thinking. So while I certainly can't credit like the full community to me or my business specifically, I certainly have had a really big part in help building the tools that keep our community and membership running. So as the Contrarian Academy has grown, we obviously have to think a lot about how the product scales with those members and how we deliver things. So that's really where my role comes in, is thinking about product delivery and the customer experience. So Tightknit has been a really wonderful solution for us as our events have grown. And so I'm really happy to be able to share kind of how we've been able to leverage Tightknit in order to just like reduce friction, make things a lot easier, centralize things, and all of that. So, yeah.
And one of the things I'll give Lauren a shout out. They've been the most. You're probably one of the most technical people I know, right? Like in terms of like how
Oh,
you
cool.
approach
Okay, cool.
community
Yeah.
management, I think the
Hmm.
way that you're actually like all of the like we won't show all your HubSpot flows, but I think what one of the things that really impressed me when we first started work with your team was how you took kind of like the systematic thinking to building community. And so I'm really excited to kind of open that up because I think a lot of community managers are trying to up level themselves in terms of building the stack that they're trying to go for. So very excited to jump into this today. Thank you for joining us. Um, it's just a first level set. A lot of us, we work in the community industry and we are constantly watching this world change. And one of the things that's really exciting is community has become today's B2B growth lever. It's really one of the best ways to build a growth business, whether community is the business itself or community is a part of your business. We're finding that as AI becomes kind of the new landscape, or changes in laws, changes in kind of the whole ecosystem, folks tend to gravitate to communities to learn more about how to kind of build their own careers, build better businesses, and just understand the world. So, uh, I want to quickly just cover like your case study, right? I think this is like at a high level, one of the most incredible things is like uh, the community that Lauren is building is built kind of around the ideas of what Cody Sanchez and she originally started with creating
So
a
you've set
cat.
boundaries for how people can contact you and thought about
Oh,
how
hey,
to allocate your time.
let's
Now it's
hold on.
important for you to
Let's
think about
mute.
your days,
Can you
weeks, and
mute
months
her?
really strategically.
All right, we just muted her. So yeah, maybe we can turn on the mute just for the rest of those. Okay, cool. Well, I just to pause there. I'll hand it over to you, Lauren. I do want to kind of quickly cover like how did this community get started? What was the kind of culmination of taking the work that Cody was thinking about and thinking, how do we actually bring people together, right? She'd already built this audience, right? Cody was this kind of like big, she'd written a few books. She'd had like this stage of being able to help people build their businesses. What led to contrarian thinking, starting it out? And Lauren, you're on mute right now.
That helps. So I'm not the expert on the true origin story, so I don't entirely want to speak for Cody in the motivation there, but I'll say that the what we now know as the Contrarian Academy started as a mastermind and taking the things that Cody was teaching in our acquisition foundations course and actually bringing that into more of a group setting where people could lean on one another and lean on our internal experts in order to acquire small businesses. So, I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago at this point. So that's really how it started, I believe, as kind of a supplementary add-on to a course. And now, of course, the Academy has lots of additional features and resources and team and all of these events that we're going to talk about. But really, it just started there.
Yeah, and it's I think these numbers are growing actually, which is wild to me, but the number of events and the number of registrations when we first started on your stack, we were pretty astounded to see like the level of activity that the community actually had and engaged with, right? Like, and you did an incredible job of teaching folks from that change management perspective of how to use events. We'll cover a little bit of that as well. And so I'm about to jump through some of your slides. But do let me know where, like, as we kind of move through, because I'll be driving it. If you say just next slide, I'll keep going. But we'll start here.
Great. So yeah, so at this point we have roughly 10 to 15 virtual calls per week. We do use Zoom meetings for all of those where registration is required. And so I'll talk about that in a second, but that's really a big part of how we track engagement and see what members are up to within the Academy. And so those calls are really specialized group calls based on the phases of their member journey. So maybe where we may have started out years ago with a couple calls per week, at this point we have so many members that we can actually segment them and really offer very, very specialized calls for them. You can
Yeah.
comment.
All right. Jump to
Or
the
like
next
if
one.
you want to add anything there.
No. I think the so I guess this is funny to almost ask, but like when you were exploring platforms, like Zoom stood out because of why? Just out of curiosity.
We've always we've just always used Zoom, but it has continued to be a great platform as far as attendance tracking and also, you know, recording and offering the Q&A functionality and things like that. And so, it can also handle a number of members who who attend our events. I know you mentioned Butter earlier. That's actually a platform where I've been on calls on that, and there might be other platforms that for certain reasons I like the interface or something like that. But Zoom can handle over a couple hundred people on a regular basis, and that's really been a key for us.
And for those specialized group calls, like in terms of number of folks, is it usually quite large? Is it usually small? Does it vary dramatically?
It does vary quite a bit. So we get anywhere from a couple hundred people to like 5 or 10 on like on a really small cohort call, or like accountability pods, things like that. Yeah, but it varies widely in between that.
Hmm. All right, I'll jump to the next one for you.
Great. So just to give you an idea of like what those events look like, we're talking about deal reviews, which are like, those are the bigger calls that are very well attended. We have calls on deal sourcing, how to use our tools. So like a little bit deeper dives into methodology, how to use the tools that we provide to members. And then also just like general office hours where like people do Q&A with our deal advisors.
And from a like, I don't, you probably have the numbers and you don't have to go too deep into it. Do you find that folks tend to gravitate towards like one type of series of events that they're trying to look for? Or does it really follow the journey of how they kind of operate through the community?
I think it really does. It really does mirror where they are, because each of these calls really have a specific use case for what they're working on. Our deal review calls do tend to be the most popular, because that it tends to be the most useful across the board. But then people really can and do target the specific call for their specific need at that time.
Cool. All right. Well, let's dive in the next one because I love the actually I'll let you talk about this, but one of the things that I wish we put in the slides, one of the things you did a really good job of was the change management of all this, right? Like when you were rolling out Tightknit, you created a system so that folks on their onboarding would understand how it works exactly. So um, maybe I'll just like have you cover a little bit of that after you cover this slide of just like how did you, when you were setting things up, think like as a product manager, but then also as that end member.
Sure. So, I mean, what I'm thinking about in any of this really is how to make it as easy as possible for members to attend our events. And so one thing we were coming up against, as I'm sure a lot of other community managers do, is like having people need to go to multiple platforms in order to find the information they need. So rather than send people to, well, we had them on a different platform, or they had to go to a different platform in order to find events and register for events. And so a big thing was being able to keep them in Slack, which is where they do most of their interacting within the Academy, keeping them in Slack and being able to register for these events without leaving. So when we get lots of questions from members of when is the next call, how do I register, how can I join today, the answer is just really always Tightknit, or like the posts that we have in Slack, like that are shared from Tightknit. And so that really was just a big, a great change for us. But again, like you said, any sort of change in customer experience, you obviously like need to let people know what's happening, or you're just going to get even more questions. So that was definitely a big concern when switching to Tightknit, that we emphasize where members can find events from day one. So it is a part of our onboarding comms, part of the like announcements they get, the just kind of like the rollout of being a new member. And it just makes it a lot easier to just say, okay, well, now for events, we do have this Google Calendar, but you can always find it in Tightknit. Here's how to install it, or like, make sure the app pops up for you. And that's a big thing that I think other people on our team would call out about me as well. And I'm very much like, are people going to know how to use this new thing that we have? So That's definitely something that I think about quite a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, let me finish that last slide because I do want to tell the story of like as we were rolling it out. But maybe I'll let you finish this because one of my go for it. I'm already jumping. I want to jump into the like the
No
whole
worries.
mix of it. But the rollout was super fun, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, so again, it just allows members to view and register for events without leaving Slack, and using Tightknit's webhook functionality, we can also then automate not only them registering for the Zoom calls without ever leaving Slack. So they just hit the register button and it registers them for the correct event. But then they also receive a calendar invite with their personal join link. So, like I said, Zoom requires that they register. They have their own personal Zoom link, and that's actually communicated back to Tightknit. So when they get the Tightknit reminders, their link is right in there to join without ever leaving.
Yeah, and that was the maybe one of the most fun parts, right? Like I think our team had, for better or worse, we'd only thought of 75% of the solution, right? We came up and like, oh, we can finally register you inside of Slack. And you came back to us and said, hey, I have 1,000 members that are not really checking their email for these join links, right? And you're like, could I get this back into Slack? And so one of the great parts is that Lauren's setup, what she's doing is when folks actually are about to attend the call, we send the notification. Just like most folks, if you've ever used our events, it just sends a reminder. But for Lauren's, it actually sends both the reminder and the join link that's personal to that individual member. So one of the hard things about Zoom is that each join link is tied to you. So it actually makes sure that it's tracking your attendance and it's not a different user itself. So uh, it's really cool to watch how your system gets folks to register, keeps them in Slack, notifies them just prior to it. And I actually have really exciting news to show you kind of towards the end of some updates that might make your life even better. So, but
Great.
um, one of the things that I also wanted to call out, yeah, is and it is maybe not how most of your team uses it, but I wanted to make sure that folks knew that this is where the event stack was. But I'll let you kind of cover the rest of that email or this slide, and we can talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, so I mean, part of tracking attendance that Tightknit allows us to do is that it uses their email as the unique identifier. So when it registers them in Zoom, it uses the email that they have in Slack. So it just allows us to actually monitor member engagement. If you just send out the regular Zoom link to people, they're going to register with their personal email, their work email, an email they made like 3 years ago that they don't want anyone to know about. And it's really hard to track exactly who is attending the calls or like who is attending how often. And so that's been really useful for us. And then it also keeps these calls behind a paywall. So when we do have a Google Calendar that you can subscribe to, and I think that's on like the next slide, is that instead of putting the Zoom link, we put the Tightknit link. So if let's say you're looking at this Google Calendar and you want to join a call, if you have since left the academy and you no longer have access to Slack, you don't have access to the call anymore. So we wanted a way for people to like integrate this a little bit more into their own daily workflow if they need to. But Tightknit allows us to still keep that private, which was a big plus for me.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting, right? Because you have a very closed community, right? So the fact that if you have access to Slack means you have access to the events. Whereas like for this event, for instance, we had a difficult time. We're thinking, okay, how do we make sure that folks can still register? So we set up a similar registration flow for those that registered through Slack so they could register and automatically get their email. But we also are trying to keep it open so that folks that maybe have never heard of Tightknit or aren't in our community yet could come in, learn about this stack, and actually join us from there. So we're thinking a lot as well about like how to make this even better. So Lauren's use case was perfect for us because it fit that realm of keep everything in Slack. but a lot of our customers have our tight-knit forum. And so what we're trying to think about is how to create closed communities, but still allow potentially new members to be able to join and join the community through their kind of their first event that they ever participate in. And so really love your use case because yeah, it pushes people back into Slack. It gets them active. It gets them like having those conversations again, and keeps it all central. Um, Great. Well, I want to just we'll close it off with that last line there, Lauren. But yeah, any like, how do you feel about your event stack overall? Oh, back on mute.
Sorry, every time. I mean, I'm very happy with it. And, as we continue to build the product, it's continued to be something that has been an asset to us, or like the tech stack involved has been able to evolve with what we're doing. So in that way, happy with the flexibility. And yeah, especially these days, it's like as much as we can automate and track and keep things consistent, it makes me happy. But so yeah.
Yeah, and you have I have to assume some insane data about like all of the events that you run. So do you use that data to help kind of create like next steps? Because now that you've got it all in one system and all automated through that one system, does it help you at all make a little bit better data-driven decisions?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, much like with any um, community or kind of subscription based product, you want to be able to see what your users are doing. You want to see what people are actually using, and being able to see that kind of data is absolutely very, very helpful. Yeah. And it also
Amazing.
helps just like serve people better. It's like I was saying with engagement. It's like, we know if you haven't attended an event in a certain amount of time, like maybe you need somebody to reach out to you. So we use those kinds of touch points all the time too.
Well, this is probably a good time to ask you what's going on in the contrarian world. What's next in your playbook here?
Well, yeah, so we have our live virtual event coming up on February 20th through 22nd. And it's a 3-day live event that Cody's hosting with a lot of other great speakers, both from our team and externally, that are going to teach people how to buy a small business. And so if this is something that you're interested in, if contrarian thinking is something that you've been thinking about, this is a really great introduction. It's a really great hands-on um, 3-day, very like actionable event for people. So definitely wanted to shout that out here if anyone's interested.
So cool. Well, maybe before I jump into the demos, just because I'm sure some folks might have some questions. Are there any questions? I didn't even check the chat, but if there are any folks that have questions, I can also just we can let you go off mute. We can ask maybe one question, and then we'll jump into uh, the Tightknit demo on our side, just to kind of show all of our event stack. So if there are any questions, I see Nimrana, you raised your hand. So if you don't mind coming off
Yeah.
mute, asking your question, we'll hand it over.
Hey, Zach and Lauren. So, Zach, this was the platform related question. How do you, I didn't see, is there like a payment gateway? How do you accept payments? Do you do that?
So yeah, we don't accept payments yet, but I think Lauren can speak to how they do their membership side of things. So Lauren, maybe I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, so joining the academy is handled separately. So we use
Oh,
another
okay.
platform for checkout. And then we have a process that invites people to Slack.
Got it. So Slack is essentially you're using Slack wrapped up with Tightknit to essentially just do the community event management and everything around it.
Yes, yeah. So these events are ones that are only open to members once you're already in the academy and a part of Slack.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that was my question.
And it is a great question. It's something we've definitely considered for kind of a future roadmap item is having some element of pay to join an event in the future. So glad to hear that it's on your mind. All right, well, I'll jump into it. If folks have additional questions, yeah, feel free to add them to the chat. We'll have more time for questions after this as well. So I'm going to jump actually into Slack first, just to kind of first off show what Tightknit looks like on the inside. So for those that have seen it, you probably will recognize that this is your admin experience inside Slack. We are a supercharged Slack application. And one of the most popular parts and the thing that we're really talking about today is our event stack here. We do have additional settings for certain items. So having kind of the ability to unregister event reminders, even for the site, having essentially the actual landing pages for some of these events. But to create a new event is as simple as jumping into Tightknit and really jumping in and creating a new event. You can even see the events that we're running right here. You can see that it's ongoing. We have me, I've registered for the event. Some folks that are on the enterprise plan, we have actually tags now, so you can tag certain events. I know, Lauren, actually, this is something we should talk about at some point, is tagging events based on the different categories of certain areas. What's also great, I can jump into the guest list. I can see who actually clicked the register button inside of Slack. So really useful to understand how folks got there. All of these folks, which is part of the fun, is when we post a recap, they're all going to get a recap message with the recording. And so it allows them to be able to say, hey, I want to see this thing, and say something comes up, they don't make it. We know they had high intent to make it there, so we're going to send them a recap message to let them know. What's also fun, you have a full add to calendar capability from inside of Slack. So say want to create an AMA, something that might not have a full registration. I can actually have my customers sign up using Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, and Outlook, which covers hopefully 99% of most folks' calendars, so that they can actually add them directly to their calendar. And then when you register for events, you get notifications. And so you can actually see here that once I register for an event, I get my notification coming through Tightknit. I can add it to my calendar from there. I can explore other events. This is a great way to push folks to go and keep looking for more events to add. And I can remove myself if I'm no longer wanting those notifications, which, speaking of which, about an hour prior, and this is actually the thing that we'll talk about later, we got a notification about this event coming up, and I can actually see what's coming through. So in Lauren's world, these reminders actually contain the join link to join the webinar. And so that's how her community is actually able to say, stay in Slack, check the notifications, and jump right into the Zoom webinar. The other thing I want to show is I'll actually show it through the eyes of one of our customers. So the event landing pages for some folks that are setting up either public or private spaces, if you have a tight-knit forum, you have a digital space for showing your upcoming events, but as well as your past events. And what this gives you is a content resource library, so folks can come in and actually go and view old events and also explore who the hosts and who the speakers were that are associated with it. So a really good way to kind of keep that historical log of events that you're hosting within the community space. So the final thing I'll show is we do use a third party actually to make a lot of Lauren's stack work. In her case, it's HubSpot, but for us, we actually use make.com. If you've ever used something like Zapier or Workato, this is a very similar integration platform as a service. And so it uses our webhooks technology, which is available on our Momentum tier plan. And we're actually using that to register users all the way through for Zoom. And so Lauren's is much more complex than ours, but we wanted to kind of show how simple it is to be able to get folks to register inside of make.com. So I don't know, Lauren, any comments on did I miss anything?
No, I mean, honestly, I don't think our system is really that much more complicated. I mean, we do have that additional step of it speaking back to Tightknit once they register, but this is the kind of thing that we walked through when we originally started using Tightknit, and it it worked really well, continues to do so, even with lots of people registering every day. And yeah, I think it's a really great, like I'm grateful for the webhook aspect, because
Yes.
that's really where you automate a lot with any platform, really, is once you can get a webhook out, you can do a ton.
Yeah, and I can speak to roadmap wise, webhooks are fantastic for that low code community. Folks that want to be able to kind of extend our platform to any event stack, right? Which is the benefit. Anything that has an API, we can extend to now. But one of the things that over this next year we really want to hone in on is actually an out of the box Zoom registration because a lot of folks use Zoom. They want to use Zoom nearly identical to how you're using it today, Lauren. So it's something we are exploring is having this baked in so you can actually both create the Zoom meeting directly in Tightknit and have it all registered through that one system. So hopefully in the next few months, yeah, we'll have more to report on when that will be coming. It's not any time like in the immediate quarter, but it's definitely something we've discussed many times over. So, um, all right. Well, I'll jump back in. I'll quickly just cover Tighten and then I think we'll open it up for some questions as well. But I just want to mention, right? You don't have to use make. There are many different, kind of going off what Lauren said, webhooks really unlock a lot of power for the platform. And so any system, any integration platform as a service that your team is using today, you can actually take those webhooks and create really powerful experiences with them. So here's just a subset of the hundreds and hundreds of different technologies that do listen for webhooks. But as Lauren was mentioning, that is really the thing that unlocks a lot of those capabilities. And this is actually the thing, Lauren, I was pretty excited to show you. You probably caught it because you're an events expert, but usually we only had one option, which was the 10 minutes before. And so one of the things we set out to go do is said, not every event needs to be notified 10 minutes prior. Some events should be a day before, some events should be an hour, sometimes even 2 minutes before. And so what we've done is we've been doing the hard work to actually set multiple event reminders. So now you can kind of extra make sure that folks are going to get the notifications for those events that they want to attend. And so hopefully this is helpful for a lot of folks' communities where, yes, not every event is that one size fits all. So exciting stuff for you, Lauren, here.
Yeah, no, that is, and that's certainly, yeah, totally agree that not everything needs the 10 minutes before, but especially for events that are planned further in advance, the additional like a day before, a week before, whatever, like that's really useful.
Yeah, I mean, especially like a 3-day conference or 3-day virtual event, right? Like a 10-minute before is not
Mhm.
as useful as giving someone that like even a week before, like don't forget to block 3 days out of your calendar. So definitely a useful tool for kind of judging the size of event and giving you kind of that flexibility. So thank you to Stephen and Danny on our team who actually worked on this feature together. So I'll just give a final thing. We don't just do events, actually. We do quite a bit. We do gamification, we do onboarding, we do SEO, we do member engagement, all sorts of things that help communities build kind of the best experience for their members. We're hopeful, we're very thankful that Lauren gets to kick off this series with us of events. I think it's so meta that we get to do that. But we'll be having more of these about the different parts of Tightknit and really diving deep with some of our kind of top customers that are really operating in that space. So the real big takeaway, I think you've kind of seen it, is that when you take your event stack and you deeply embed them to where your members are, the way that Lauren's team has, then you're actually able to really create a great experience for your customers. You're able to help them sign up, register, and kind of be more a part of your community because you're bringing that event stack as close as possible to them. So I had a quick question for you, Lauren. Do any of your members comment on the event stack? Is that ever something that folks are letting you know about? And I'm putting on the spot here. I don't know if they do or not.
They do, because I think sometimes people are expecting it to be more difficult than it is. And are like expecting to get like 8 registration emails, or I can't think of a good example necessarily, but I think um, sometimes it's surprising to people when they're like, "Wait, where do I go?" I'm like, "It's just right. It's right there. It's right there." And like, you don't have to go anywhere, log into anything. You don't have to tell us anything else. Just hit register, and no, we swear you are registered, and it will pop up on your calendar. So in that way, I think people do ask us about it. And because if they're not in a lot of other Slack environments either, they may not have seen Tightknit before. So it does take a little bit of explaining to them, but I think people have really enjoyed it so far.
That is music to my ears. So thank you, Lauren. That's better answer than I could have ever expected. So awesome to hear. And so I just wanted to jump in, share a few QR codes, Lauren. So maybe give us some, like, tell some folks, yeah, what can they do in the contrarian thinking community?
Well, I think the links there, like share our Instagram, and you can follow Cody, and you can find out more about the Academy, and Cody's book, Main Street Millionaire. And then the Main Street Minute newsletter is really a great place to start if potentially acquiring a small business is something that you're interested in. I find it to be really accessible while also being really, really practical and educational. So that's a great intro to to Main Street businesses. So that's probably your best bet if you don't already know a ton about contrarian thinking. But that's what those links are.
And where can folks follow you?
Oh, you can. I'm very easily searchable on LinkedIn. Having a slightly unique last name makes that helpful. So yeah, feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. I'm not totally a creator on there at this point, but I certainly share updates on what we're working.
Cool. I love it. Definitely follow her. And you're also in our community, right? So
Yeah, so ping me there.
if folks have questions, yeah, they can reach out to you maybe in Slack.
Oh yeah, anytime.
Amazing. Which
Yeah.
leads me right into if you're not in our community, which I believe most folks in the room are, but if you're not, here's a link to join our community. You can find us at community.tightknit.ai. And that's a great place to learn more about some of the updates we're making around the event stack, as well as ask us questions and provide feedback about what you want to see, right? What else can we build to make your event stack even better? And so, like, Namrata, thank you for mentioning like payments, right? Having that on our roadmap is definitely helpful for a lot of other community leaders, and we're excited to be able to deliver those as time goes on. So this is the last slide I had. So I'm gonna stop sharing. I know we've got a few minutes and it's late for a few folks, but if there are any questions, we'll be happy to answer them. So I see a few in the chat or just a few comments. Uh, Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, Lauren is really quite a pro with this. So thank you, Lauren, for joining us. And then, yes, this was a really informative event. So thank you. I got to learn a lot about your ops with Contrarian, Lauren. It's grown a lot since we first started. So that's also been fun to see some of the changes. Um, and yeah, I guess maybe I'll ask some questions to the audience. Maybe we can ask them and see if we can help them. But is anyone struggling with their event stack today, or are there struggles that you are having that, we might be able to answer?
Not struggles per se, but more. I think it's a very dumb question, but the question is it always going to be Slack?
Oh, for Tightknit, you're suggesting.
Yes,
That's
yes.
a great question. So if you have a digital forum, so one of the things we're working on now is authentication on the forum and to a capacity where we know exactly who is on the forum,
Mhm.
what they're viewing, what they're seeing, what events they're signing up for. And so one of the things we want to work on that we have a lot of customers, especially in the cybersecurity space, that can't get Slack on their machines. And so
Yes. Yes.
because of that, we are spending a lot of focus making sure that the experience on the web forum is near parity. I say near because let's be real,
Hmm.
the Slack community experience is the best, and there's a reason that we've built around it. But a lot of these community members want to be able to participate in feeds, they want to participate in events, they want gamified experiences. And so we're doing a lot of work, Namrata, to make sure that the forum provides a quality experience. It will never be as good as Slack, but a good
Got it.
enough that folks feel like they can be part of the community.
Okay. Yeah. I have not, the reason I'm here is because I build events online and in person for communities. I do strategy on that. And honestly, most of my communities are Discord, WhatsApp, all of those. There's only probably one on Slack. And so I was very interested in knowing how you are essentially using that as your base, and how is the experience different from others. So looks very, flows very well. That is definitely a feedback.
Yeah,
Like
and
that's what I saw. Yeah. Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, and a good if you rewind the clock and ask us like why did we not build for Discord and build for WhatsApp? Those both of those applications pitch themselves as communities. A
Mm,
lot of the folks in the room know Slack is not a community platform, without Tightknit. And so the element of taking that and creating a community around it was really the big thing that we wanted to deliver. And there was less value in us putting it into Discord and into WhatsApp, which already supports its own event stack today. We also like double down on security, right? So Slack is the only
absolutely.
one of those
Exactly. Exactly.
platforms
Yes.
that is SOC 2 compliant,
Mm.
supported as a B2B SaaS business. And so we wanted to be able to align with our customers so that when they make a purchase, that they know they're getting a SOC 2 compliant solution that is in the messaging space, in the conversational community space, the only one that fits that category.
That's exactly right. Because what is happening is in that space, people are not getting a good event, event creation, platform or even management platform. So definitely, I mean, there is a huge need. So I see that.
Yeah. And I'm sure maybe Lauren, I'll spin it to you, right? Like I'm sure some folks have some friction with Slack, right? You have done the work to say, hey, you've never used Slack before, but here's how to use it. I know you do a lot of training around Slack as a platform. There's even features that I feel like we should show you that just around that beyond the event stack. But like a good example is we have a thread reminder bot now, right? So hopefully,
Oh,
Lauren, I don't
wow.
know if you're using that, but that one's a big one. It's maybe one of the biggest complaints we've ever heard about Slack across the board. So I see the nods. Yeah, tell us more.
Um, Yeah, I mean, I think with any community platform really, or any community where you have kind of a range of technical ability, you're going to get members who have never used Slack before, who maybe might not be as tech savvy, or don't necessarily like catch on to new platforms as easily. And so you definitely have to account for that and help uh, help bring them along and make sure they're able to use the features in the first place, and so that it's useful for them. So yeah, we I mean, I definitely can't say that members have no friction and they just instantly know exactly where to go. Like it's definitely, I'm sure people would love it if like we just had a public Google Calendar where they could just one click join join the Zoom meeting, but that's just not what our community is. It's not what our events are really meant for. And so there is some friction there. There's some pushback. People aren't always psyched about it, but I think when we explain the workflow or like, just how to do it, people understand. But yeah, so it's not, I mean, it's not perfect. People need to learn how to use these tools, but I definitely think it's keeping things as centralized as possible. it's just like keeping people on your platform. Like that's just really the way to go if you want to keep up engagement.
Yeah, no, we could not agree more. We tend to find a lot of folks look at Slack as I mean, we call it a cheat code on engagement. And when you say cheat code, it's really more like the reason it's a cheat code is because it meets your members where they are, right? It's the Walgreens in Union Square. It's as close as possible as you can get to where your customer lives. And so it's how do you make sure you're doing that rather than making them drive 20 miles to get to your platform, crawl through mud. And I think that element of community building is so important because you're creating a space, even if they've never used Slack, where once they've Slack is so simple, the user experience there's so many millions of dollars dedicated to the user experience and the reliability of the platform that it just becomes kind of second nature for a lot of us. Maybe for me, it's almost first nature at this point, but that's because of the job I'm in. Well, I want to be respectful of time. We got about time for maybe one more question, if there are any. Let me see in the chat if there's anything in there. If there are no other questions, though, I just want to say, Lauren, thank you so much for joining us on the very first Tightknit webinar of the year. We're going to do a lot more of these, and we will be sure to post the recap of this using our own recaps feature inside of Tightknit, so you can catch it on both community.tightknit.ai and inside of our Slack community. And we'll make sure to share you the recording as well if anyone on your team is interested in viewing.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me. This has been great.
Thank you
Amazing.
so
Well,
much.
thank you all. If
We
you
look
have,
forward to the next.
thanks, Guillermo. And yeah, if you have suggestions, by the way, to everyone else, if you have suggestions of what else you'd like to learn about Tightknit, please feel free to post those in the community. We'd love to be able
Yep.
to create more sessions that help you kind of explore the different parts of our product in depth.
Okay. Cool. All right. Nice to know. Thank you so much.